Hi, and welcome to Thoughtful Little Time Bombs. Welcome back. If you're returning, and if this is your first visit, then I thank you for popping across, and I hope you'll be intrigued enough to hang around and maybe return for the next video, or even to have a look at the previous videos. Right, my name is William. This is Thoughtful Little Time Bombs, and it's my job to throw ideas at you. Some of them make sense to you now and help you move forward. Others may just hang around and wait an opportune moment when you're looking for a solution, and the unconscious will pay attention to it and say, okay, this is appropriate for a way ahead. So that's what it's about. It's about throwing ideas, trusting to the unconscious, and your own awareness of your own circumstances as well, because ideas can change the world. And all I want to do is to feel that while I'm talking, something may make sense to you and may help you improve the quality of your life, which is what it is all about at the end of the day, living a life of quality. And also something else we cover is the unlived life, things we didn't get round to doing. You reach a certain age possibly, or maybe you're not as old as I am, but you reach a certain age where you want to do those things. Responsibility, family, whatever. There could have been many, many reasons why you didn't get around to doing those things that were once so important to you. So now is the chance to go ahead and do it. And maybe there are obstacles in the way, maybe there are obstacles between your ears. And if that is the case, then I'm about to throw at you as many ideas as possible and hoping that one of them sticks. So let's get on with it. So here we go. The Jets, there's a military base just beside us here, and occasionally it's sunny for a change, so they may well be flying. We've had to stop before. Shadow had enough, he's gone to bed. But he, not before leaving, a couple of thoughts he wanted to share with you. One of them is humans will believe anything anyone says about them, especially if it's bad. Okay? That's something we're going to look at. We're going to look at a theme that seems to be thriving in my imagination recently and my thinking about these things. When we think about obstacles, I think about humans, and I don't know why, but I think about bullying. And so we're going to have a look at that and our reaction to it, and also focus on things like compassion for self, setting a high standard for yourself and sticking to it, and also day-to-day discipline in how we move towards achieving certain things in our lives that were once so incredibly important and that we've chosen maybe now to focus on and hopefully realize. So Shadow believes that humans are easy victims for bullying and such, because he says we will believe anything bad about ourselves. And the reality is that some people are born with some incredible skill for knowing that people can be manipulated, and they use it callously, coldly, and these people are probably sociopathic, narcissistic. And I would recommend that you have a look at narcissism, because it's quite unfortunate to be a victim of a narcissist, just like a bully really, where you don't feel as if you have any autonomy, that all decisions you make, all things in your life are a response to the requirements of somebody else, and it just takes away any freedom you might ever have had. And for these people, you know, essentially it is a superpower, because people don't realize they're being manipulated, and all they know is that they are feeling rubbish, they feel inadequate because somebody is pointing out all failures to them, where people realize that they are being set up for failure. And it's a way of controlling people. And as I say, for some people who've sussed this out very young in life, it's a superpower. Other people pick it up along the way. It's like a management tool for bullies. You know, bullies tend to be, in my experience, have an auditor mentality. You can do 999 things correctly, but they will only focus on the one thing that doesn't work, that is incorrect, and possibly might be correct, but they've chosen to pick on it in order to just undermine you, to weaken your position, to damage your self-confidence. And what it does eventually is it just stops you doing things in life. Maybe stopping you doing things now. It probably has stopped you doing things in the past. So it is a superpower as long as you don't realize it's going on, because it's like being punch drunk. You're being knocked left, right, and center, and you don't realize that somebody has this incredible power over you. But once you do realize, once you start thinking, and some of the matters issues we're going to talk about today, once you realize it's going on, that superpower becomes, I'm going to swear, that superpower becomes crap, because changes in our mental state, our understanding of the world, of social circumstances, of the psychology prevalent at any time, once we get that idea in our head, then whatever the situation was before, it has to change. It inevitably does change. If we change our thinking, the world changes with us. Our own personal world changes with us. So we want to make sure that we stop believing that we are weak, that we are unlucky, that we got dodgy genes, stuff of this nature. It isn't. You are being manipulated. You have been manipulated, or somebody you know is being manipulated. So maybe it's a chance to be a good friend, which is I hope I'm being for you here. I don't believe in bad luck. I don't believe in luck, actually. I just believe in coincidence. In a world where there are 7 billion people, then it is inevitable that there will be coincidences. And the lottery, which most people, it's their main plan for escape, for achieving things in life, they believe it's luck, and therefore, because they don't win, they believe they're unlucky. And it's wrong, because as far as I'm concerned, winning the lottery is a coincidence between you having chosen a set of numbers based on no skill whatsoever, and the lottery machine, churning out those numbers. It happens. And in a world where there are 7 billion people, coincidences do happen. As I said, in a world where there are 7 million people, then similar things happen again and again and again. And even with odds as ridiculous as 60, I'm probably completely wrong, but let's say 63 million to 1 of winning the lottery, somebody will win it. In a large enough population, maybe 2 or 3 will win it. The only way to win the lottery, a guaranteed win, is to spend enough money that you cover all possible permutations, all 63 million of them. And because the lottery in this country is £2 for a ticket, for a single ticket, that means you will have to spend 126 million pounds in order to guarantee a win. And so you need profit on top of that one, so let's bring it up to 175 million. That will be the jackpot. You're going to spend your 126 million on, make a profit of 50 million, and you will win. You will win because you have covered all permutations and you spent 126 million pounds achieving it. But as I say, we're a world of coincidences. That you marshaled all the odds there, and it cost a phenomenal figure of 126 million. Whereas in the world of coincidences, not luck, somebody else can buy a £2 ticket and get exactly the same numbers. So your winnings of 50 million have now dropped. They've dropped by 50% of that. So what was winnings of 179 million, including a 50 million pound a profit for you, is now only worth 87 million pounds. So you're now worse off by how much? Was it 40 million? So, you cannot marshal the odds. It is impossible. There is no skill involved. All we know is that some people win, some people don't. And we also know that the impossible happens in people meeting each other, twins meeting each other, people who haven't seen each other for decades in the middle of a Ulaanbaatar, for instance. They will just bump into each other. The only guarantee of good fortune is hard work and planning and hard work. and using your time appropriately, correctly, efficiently. So we chuck luck and sitting on our backsides waiting for things to happen to us. We chuck it to one side. Something may happen, as I say, in an infinite universe. All manner of things are possible. And in a world of 7 billion, God knows what's going to happen. It could happen, but equally it could not happen. So therefore, the only guarantee in life of achieving those dreams you've always wanted to achieve is hard work. So planning and action. It's about having a definite plan. It's about having confidence in yourself. It's having self-belief, and it's about working hard. Hard work does show you the way ahead. The harder you work, the clearer the path becomes. But as I say, people do get in the way. And out of sheer habit of being knocked off our stride, we allow them to continue to disrupt us, even after we've worked out what they're doing. But it is about constantly focusing on what you want to do, and the other things will fall away. Hard work has two advantages. One of them is that you take a step forwards, and the other one is that things that seemed important before, even controlled by others, it stops being significant. Okay? So improve by effort and with discipline. And also, act. You won't get everything correct in one go, but you've got to act. You will make errors, but if you've just taken a step forward from where you were before, from where you've been for many, many years, inert, not doing anything, then it's progress. You have to take steps forward. You have to be brave. And again, my age is, I am now desperate enough to achieve things before I pop my clogs, that I will be brave, that I will do things, that I will say things, I will bring situations which are damning and undermining, I'll bring them to an end. It's the advantage of being old. People think you're daft, but what you are is wise. You're not wise enough to have been wise earlier, but you're wise now because you're beginning to realize that there are other things in the world seeking to control you. And Shadow, here's another one by Shadow. It's on the same lines as before. He's a smart cat. He says, humans like to interfere. Absolutely true. And we've covered this before by saying that do the things you want to do in private. Do the things, sounds terrible. Do the things you want to do, you're planning for. Do it in secret. Succeed in secret, fail in secret. And the advantage of failing in secret is that people who interfere will know nothing about it, and it will not become an item of conversation. And the other thing about ignorant people is that ignorant people generally don't know that they're ignorant. They're just incredibly confident people, sure of their position. A bit like a bigot. A bigot is a stone-deaf orator. And a bigot is incredibly confident in what he or she wants to do. It's what I call confidence with no brain attached. And very similarly, I don't know if you've ever had the misfortune of having to deal with a conspiracist. Conspiracy theorists are people generally who I don't think they did well at school, and they have very little self-belief, so they are lost. They haven't yet worked out that there are options without believing in the words of other people. It's like Shadow said. Shadow the cat is smart, so Shadow said that people will tend to believe anything you tell them, especially if it's bad about you. Somebody told me years ago that young people are fascinated by conspiracy theories. They love them. Where is Area 52? Who shot Elvis? Kennedy, what happened there? All these theories and UFOs, UAPs, you name them, daft things. There are aliens among us, whatever. Kids love them. They reckon they're so funny, and it's even much funnier that people believe them. So ignorant people don't know they're ignorant. And if you know they're ignorant, keep away from them, because they are interfering. They're confident in everything they do, and they have no brain behind it. It's important to be quite stark in how you evaluate the world, because being kind and gentle hasn't got you very far so far if you're being if there are obstacles to what you want to achieve, and these obstacles are people. Okay, either want to control you, or otherwise they want to interfere with you. This is, there we go. Let me just make sure you can see it all. There we go. It's a book called Games People Play, and it's by Eric Berne, MD. Eric Berne is a humanist psychologist, person-centered, and focused essentially by simply making a person, helping a person live a good life today, tomorrow, day after, simply. That most obstacles, most difficulties in life can be removed. And it's a psychology that works. It's based on a psychology developed by him, and it's called transactional analysis. And I would encourage you to have a look at it. This book is Games People Play, and it's an interesting one. It's about how we can be manipulated by other people and how cruelties can be thrown at us without us realising until slightly afterwards that we've just been insulted. There was a captain of a ship, a master of ships from around here, we won't mention him, but he was very popular and much liked. And he had, I think it's called a plastic comment for people who he wasn't impressed with generally. And his commendation to these people who had having done something would be, for you, that's good. And the people didn't realise that they were actually being insulted, that he was not impressed by them at all. But you know, maybe there are probably people still around. The good captain's gone to his reward many years ago. And I wonder if there's still people now, aged people, who remember his compliments, and I wonder if it still has value for them. Eric Berne talks about, one game he talks about is Nigisop. Nigisop is an acronym, I think you call it that. Now I've got you, son of a bitch. And it's an interesting one. Think about a straight road with a junction ahead, let's say about a third of a mile ahead. And you're at that junction wanting to come out and travel. Car coming towards you in the opposite lane. So you're not going to pull out willy-nilly. You're going to wait for the car to pass, possibly, before you pull out into the opposite lane and go in the opposite direction. But the car seems to be slowing down, and you look at the car and you think, okay, plenty of time to cross the central line and then turn and start moving in the opposite direction to the direction the car's coming. And you start moving out of the junction, indicator on, and you move, but accelerator on, and you move across. And as you do that, as you begin to move, the car that has been driving steadily towards you has accelerated flat out and is coming at you like a rocket. And you just about pull onto the other side of the road, and the car just misses your tail light. And as he's passing, the fist is up, he's angry, and he's banging the horn of the car. Why? Because there was plenty of time for him to allow you to turn. What he did was he allowed you to get out into a vulnerable position, accelerated towards you, and made you wrong in his eyes. And it's something we I think talked about just a short while later. People will create situations in which you will fail, and that's one of them. Up until the person took action, made a decision, there was nothing wrong, you were doing everything right, and they created a situation in which you did something wrong. Scott, now I've got you, son of a bitch. I've got you exactly where I want you, and I'm going to make you feel bad. So that's Nigisop. There's loads of other games in there. And once you know this game, and once you become refined in how you look at relationships, you'll find that these games can be around you. And as I say, people who can use these sort of games use it as a superpower. But once you realize what they're doing, then it stops being a superpower. It becomes, as I said earlier, crap. And once you've intellectually clocked it, seen it, the situation begins to change. The people who are dominating, have a look at them. Look at the company they keep, because it is something that is accurate in society, that people who are alike will gather together. Birds of a feather flock together. Cruel people gather together because they can be cruel in the company of other people who accept that cruelty. Therefore the cruelty is not unacceptable. Therefore it is acceptable. Therefore it's okay for you to be cruel. Mean-spirited people gather together. Each one confirms to the other that it's okay to be mean. Cold people the same. Also warm people, also intelligent people gather together. Also light-hearted people gather together. So it works every way. But if you're looking at the company that the person who's dominating you, who is a bloody nuisance in your life, or the company you're in at the moment, and if they are cruel, cold, mean, either it means you are such, or somehow you've got yourself into a hell of a situation and you need to get out. Okay? That's just to throw an observation in. That's an observation. No advice. As I said, there is no advice, because any advice, ignorant throwaway line, and I think it's something that Shadow would agree, is that conspiracy theorists and ignorant people have one thing in common. Honestly, I'm sort of almost convinced of this, in that if a conspiracist or a bully or a narcissist or an ignorant person suggests you do one thing, then I suggest you do the 180 degree opposite. I've noticed in life, working with certain people, that you'd ask their, if you weren't sure what to do, you'd ask their opinion and you'd do the opposite, and you'd be fine. It's a rule that worked for me. It doesn't mean it's going to rule for everybody else, so that I'm just throwing that one out there. And also, if you find yourself at any time in a state of anxiety, unwell, misery, depression, maybe one of the best decisions you can make in your life at that moment to help you move forward is to go to the doctor and explain the situation and ask for counselling. Counselling is remarkably powerful and it changes lives. It works. There is such a high demand for it that there is always a waiting list, but unless you get your name down, you'll never get seen. But it's powerful, it works, it changes people's lives, it helps you get into a position where those items in your unlived life can be realized and you can actually be happy. Happiness exists. It's an up and down thing, because life is up and down, but happiness does exist. So if you're living in an environment where happiness is not an element, a regular element, coming and going, up and down, argumentative, but happiness is a major part of that. If that is not your world, then you need to step out of it, have a word with a doctor, because being miserable and anxious is not a good state of being for you physically. Most cancers, I reckon, are caused by stress, and anxiety is a cause of stress, and people are the worst form of stress in your life. So you want to keep away from them. Professor Richard Feynman was one of the greatest physicists of all time. In the 20th century, he is regarded as being the second greatest physicist of that amazing period of research, of going from mathematics to actually showing that things exist. Richard Feynman worked on a Manhattan project, which was the development of the atom bomb, which was later dropped onto Japanese cities with appalling effect. Richard Feynman was one of the few people who wasn't dancing the day the bomb dropped, because he realized what they had done lots of the engineers, lots of the scientists were just overjoyed that it had worked, and they hadn't looked at the implications of it. His dad kept telling him that anybody with epaulets, which is a general, a field marshal, a captain, a major, whatever, anybody with epaulets, that's a commissioned officer, watch them. Watch them, watch them, listen to what they say, but pay no attention to them generally, just be entertained by them. He must have been in the wars somewhere. I don't know. He probably would have been active 1890s, Richard Feynman's dad. And it was a time when if you came from a wealthy family, then you bought a commission. You were a lieutenant, a captain, whatever, straight away. And one thing Richard Feynman's dad knew is that most of these people were ignorant. They just had money and confidence. They'd gone to a good school. They had the right voice. And they spoke about right things, but they were very dim in general. And you should never believe them if they tell you to run towards an enemy. So he told you the rule there is anybody with a badge and confidence tells you what to do, don't do it. Or smile engagingly and excuse yourself for a moment. Right, we're moving towards the end of my weekly rant. These are things I'm angry about. I'm angry about bullies. I've dealt with them. And, they ask you should show me respect. And I keep thinking, why should I be showing you respect if you've done nothing to deserve it? It's I will not nourish an inadequacy in somebody else. And as I say, I want to do things with my life and nobody is going to stop me. And I hope nobody's going to stop you, because they don't need to know about it until you're ready. You'll plan in secret, you'll fail in secret, but you are gradually moving an inch at a time. If you're an inch further ahead tomorrow than you were today, then that is amazing progress. And keep the momentum going. And if you get stuck going in this direction, just for the sake of maintaining momentum, go that way. Go that way. You never know what door will open. But, keep your eye on where you want to go. And if you can make no movement, make any movement. Okay? The last thing you want to do is slow down and stop, because you might find yourself slipping back to where you were before. And as I say, I'm old enough now to be brave. I don't give a damn. I'm old enough now to be brave, to say what I feel. It's like your aged grandpa just after he's taken his tablets, probably. Somebody used to know years ago, passed away, must be about 20 years ago now. On her gravestone, I've written two words. I think they were written originally or stolen by the way poets go. Horace, a Roman poet, and it's simple, two words. Carpe diem, seize the day. Time is always working against you. What have I said here? Yeah, time is always working against you. And what proves that is subjective time. Subjective time is your time within the greater scope of objective time, which is what's on your clock, which in a deep physics sense means nothing apparently, because all of time happens at the same time. Difficult to describe time without using the word time. For instance, you get up in the morning and set to work on your project, whatever that project is. You're writing, maybe you're doing research, and you finish at 4. And because you're working intensively, that day goes incredibly quickly. Time is passing quickly, but in order to move forward towards achieving anything, you need to have patience at the beginning to make sure that your plan is effective and will take you forward. 90% of the way, 10% of the way, anything that moves you forward today, you do. As I said, momentum is important. Once you lose momentum, sometimes you lose the sense of where you want to be. Bob Dylan, a friend went to see Bob Dylan, and I think he was in Earl's Court in London. And I told you about, ask a bully, a narcissist, or a conspiracy theorist, and I'll refine this a bit. Ask them what you should do, what they think you should do, and then do the opposite, because they will have nothing they will give you nothing to your advantage. And it's a general rule. It's not always correct, but it's more than often correct for me. And Bob Dylan came back on stage and said, if you don't stand for something, you'll fall for anything. And then he went off stage, and that the concert was over. And my friend said he was silent afterwards because it gave him a realization, and he said it gave him a realization, and things sort of changed after that. Just a little thing he'd thrown out, and it just made absolute sense. And it would be one of these concerts with about, I don't know, 30,000 people in there. I don't know how much the Earl's Court holds, but that was it. That simple set of words by Bob Dylan. If you don't stand for something, you'll fall for anything. We now know it's true, just by looking at conspiracy theorists in particular. But it was profound at the time, and it stuck with him, and it stuck with me, even though I wasn't in the concert. It was reported to me. Also, rude people and bullies probably are either inadequate or they fell on their heads when they were kids. Okay? And finally, Eric Byrne, when one case cited by him is that somebody would come up to him and say, I want you to help me sort these problems out in my life. And the anxiety and feeling it's causing me to drink, it's causing me to be angry all the time, I'm anxious all the time. Eric Byrne said, okay, what we're going to do is we are going to sit down and we're going to talk about the scripts you follow, the ideas in your mind, the influences. And we're going to get you living a good life today, good life tomorrow, a life you control the day after, onwards. And if you still want to deal with all the other problems, we'll do it. What Eric Byrne knew is that if you find a path that takes you away from what is causing you all those anxieties, just by living a good life, for instance, a life where you're controlled, where nobody's controlling you, all the anxieties, all the stresses will fall away. So I suppose in today's rant, the idea is that be aware of who is influencing you. Make sure it's you. Make sure you're pursuing things that give you joy in your life, and it's not as a reaction to other people who generally, if you were to look at them properly, you wouldn't give them the time of day. Keep planning, keep planning, keep acting, keep going forward. An inch a day, that will do. Just keep going forward. Have faith in yourself. Be objective about who you are and what your life is like currently. So, take care of yourselves. Be aware where influences are coming from. Once you know where the influence is coming from, the power is diminished. So, without further ado, I will let you go. I hope to see you again. I'm glad you popped into Thoughtful Little Time Bombs, and I hope that you will take a moment for free to subscribe, to like, and to comment or share. Okay? So you take care, and before you go, please subscribe, like, comment, and share. Take care. Have a good day. Until next time.